Hello, friends. Dave Bjork here, lung cancer survivor, patient advocate, and yes, I'm the research evangelist. And welcome to the Research Evangelist podcast. And I'm coming to you, as always, from just outside of Boston. You know, the Greek meaning of evangelist is bringing the good news. And I like to think that I'm bringing the good news in lung cancer research and care by interviewing people in life sciences that are doing amazing work. I call them brilliant but not famous. And while the not famous part is ironic because they're all well known and respected in their field by their peers and the communities that they serve. But my next door neighbor might not recognize their name. But they really are brilliant and committed to their work. I love meeting these amazing people, sharing a little bit about them, the work that they're doing, things that they're passionate about. And I also believe in serendipity. So I hope some positive things come from sharing their stories with all of you and to the universe. So today I'm super excited to have on my show Biljana Naumovic. She is the president of U.S. Solid Tumor and a member of the Johnson & Johnson Innovative Medicine North American Leadership Team. In this role, she leads one of the company's fastest growing therapeutic areas and advances the organization's solid tumor portfolio and pipeline, spanning prostate cancer, bladder cancer, and lung cancer, as well as multiple novel tumor pathways. Biljana is a passionate leader with significant global and regional leadership experience across therapeutic areas. She is a physician by training and leverages her medical expertise and commitment to talent development to drive better outcomes for patients. Biljana, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dave. It's such an honor to be with you. And I need to start by saying I love how you started the podcast. Your mission and what you want to bring to the world is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm a storyteller, so I love sharing stories. And so everybody has stories, and I know you have a great story. And it's really great to see you. And we've met a few times, including in Barcelona. And I have to tell you, right back at you, I've really enjoyed getting to know you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Very cool. All right, so let's get started. Let's start by having you tell us about the younger Biljana. Like, where did you grow up, and what was that like?
That's my background. So, like Dave, I was born a curious child, and I was born in a country that does not exist anymore. It used to be called Yugoslavia. And now, out of that place on earth, you have seven different countries. My part of that country is called Serbia. That's where I am from. And my background was mostly about understanding how the world works. If there was a clock around me, I would break it and build it if I could. If I couldn't, I was scolded, but I would still break a clock to understand what's behind it. I was always a nerd. I always loved books. I always loved learning something new. And up until the moment when the country fell apart, um, I thought that was the most beautiful place on earth to live because it comprised the various religions and various backgrounds and individuals who held each other dear, much as this beautiful country, United States, does, where everybody is welcome. That's at least what I thought when I was young. And then, walking through the unpleasantries of war, what I grew up to understand is that greatness lies everywhere. Everywhere. Every corner of the world has greatness, but every corner of the world has the opposite of greatness as well. And it is truly up to us how we shape the world to be. And out of it, that was my mission. I always wanted to be the one who supports the world being a better place.
That's amazing. I love that. That's great philosophy. And so, tell us about your family. Did you have other family members that were in
Yep.
medicine, and that you followed their path?
So, my immediate family, my husband, three kids, we are both my husband and I come from families that are strong, medical, grounded families. So in my family, we had physicians and pharmacists. My husband's family is all physicians from three generations back. There's a commitment to science and curiosity about science, but there is an even higher commitment to uh, patients, to care, to giving back. Even today, look, you and I talked about that I lived in 3 continents and moved my family around the world. My husband still works as a physician and a professor of medicine back in Belgrade, and his commitment to what he does and how he approaches supporting patients and bringing back life. He's a nephrologist and a transplant physician, and the way that I think that I bring the same level of passion to the work I do within Johnson and Johnson, bringing hope, bringing support, bringing ultimately transformation of life to the patients we serve. So my family is all about serving in healthcare and giving back and giving care to patients.
I love that. And you can be a physician at your heart, but still
Hmm.
do amazing good work in the role that you are serving in, right?
Oh my God, I think it's synonymous, quite frankly. When you start from that, when you start from the background of understanding the impact, everything you do in pharmaceutical, directly understanding the impact of what you do in pharmaceutical industry to the work of physicians and the care and the benefits to the patients and their families. I think it allows me to do my best work. It allows me to say no to the things that I should say no to as a physician to make sure that what we bring is truly transformative. But it also allows me to have my eyes wide open because Dave, we're all human beings, and human beings are prone to their own habits and past behaviors. So when everything new comes, we all tend to say, I'm not really sure that this is good. My experience with that does not exist. So helping physicians and helping patients embrace something that is going to be transformative is I think the endeavor that I'm very, very passionate about, as it comes from having transformative science and discovering transformative science is absolutely just a start. And it means nothing until we bring it to patients. So bringing it to patients, every single patient, wherever they sit, any corner of the world, any zip code in the United States, that's something that I think marries very well in my physician mind and my business mind.
I love that. I agree with everything you said because I'm very intentional about why I have industry leaders on my show. Because it's a mixture of oncologists and surgeons and nurse navigators and health equity leaders and industry people and basic researchers. It's all an ecosystem. We're all in this together. And
Oh,
when I say
absolutely.
that, I don't say it lightly. I do believe that we talk about from bench to bedside. Well, it's not going to get from bench to bedside unless all of these different stakeholders are involved, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're all one ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, the ultimate outcome, is the health for a human being. And that health for a human being comes from many angles. It comes from fantastic research, it comes from brilliant ideas. It comes from support of people who work in hospitals. It comes from patients themselves, like you. You have done such amazing work in spreading the gospel. About research evangelist. I absolutely love it. That is so important, to share information in a way that people can understand it, embrace it, and change themselves through it. And then, of course, us in the industry playing a huge role in making sure that what we bring to the world is, on one side, absolutely transformative, and then on the other side, work with physicians and patients to have that transformation not only reach but be applied in a way that it's meant for the patient to receive it. And at the same time, we all have an obligation to keep our healthcare systems sustainable for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned your journey and your curiosity as a younger person, and your family members, I'm sure, had great influence on you. This family of people who care, right? Who are I love that. But tell us about other mentors that you may have had along the way. I always love when I talk to doctors. I love the pathways because it's always like this mentor, and then now I'm mentoring other people, right? So I always like to hear about who are those people that had an impact on you.
Oh my God, I had tremendous mentors all along the way. I fell in love with medicine because of a surgeon who I knew when I was a kid who operated on me when I had appendicitis. And I absolutely fell in love with his approach to treating patients. That I was 6. That's what I wanted to be a physician. So
Wow.
it starts from there. It starts from getting inspired by people around you. And it came through various professors at the universities that I attended, even business schools that I attended that had a vision. The thread line through all the people who supported me was um, they were all change makers and visionaries. Some of them sit in pharmaceutical companies, both in research and development and in commercial organizations. A lot of them sit in the academia across the world because I lived in now on 3 continents, so that I'm still in contact and I still get inspired by the physicians and the work that they do across. But I also have great mentors for people who I never met. There are some amazing people who are doing magnificent work, and some of them are not even alive today. But I take great pride in embracing how they approached everything they do and applied it to their work and the things they leave behind.
Yeah. And you've mentioned a couple times about living on 3 continents, and I read that you consider yourself a global nomad, finding home where your heart lands.
There
I
you
thought
go.
that was a beautiful quote. I'd love to have you tell us about that.
Oh, it started. I think it started with that fact that where I was born does not exist, but the vision of a unified world still exists in my head. So finding beauty because of the work that I do, I had an absolute privilege to meet remarkable people and get introduced to remarkable cultures around the world in various countries. And there is there's something humbling about the feeling of how connected we are across the globe and the beauty that exists in every corner of the world. So I do think that where I go on a mission, and the mission is always linked to what my why is. We'll touch on that in some instances, but the mission is always going somewhere where I can help people build something bigger than and help people dream something bigger. And for now, that's in pharmaceutical business. That's taken me through various and very exciting opportunities to step in and learn. So my nomad life really allows me to to embrace the love for every single part. Living in Switzerland, I absolutely loved it. It was such a beautiful country and culture and people on so many levels. Living in Australia, we felt absolutely like at home. The warmth of the Australian nation is remarkable. And now living in Princeton, New Jersey, as I talk with you, I look at the backyard and I look at my dog running around and I have this immense sense of feeling at home. And even though I'm here for 2 years, I feel at home. And I think that's a blessing that as human beings, we are never lost there is always a place for us, and being open to others, being open to experiencing, being open to embracing, and being a giver, truly being a giver. Everywhere you come in, you try to give more than you get, and I think that's the magic sauce in feeling at home everywhere you are.
That's so awesome. I have a book that I'm gonna send you a book.
Tell me.
It's called The Go Giver.
Oh,
And
giver. Oh, I love it. I didn't read that.
it's instead of being a go getter, you're a go giver.
There you
And you
go.
just struck a chord with me because you give more than you receive, but when you give, you do receive.
Always.
So it's
Always.
like giving first, and it comes back in abundance instead of
Exactly.
scarcity, right? So I think that's beautiful. I love that. And I am going to ask you about your why, by the way, but first I wanted to. I'm really curious to know how when take us back to when you were a practicing physician,
Yes.
and then how did you make that transition to industry? Like, tell us about that.
So I started as a physician working in a post-war country. And I was a very young, enthusiastic physician, like
I'm
many of my
sure.
colleagues, and eager to help, eager to be there for the patients and make their lives better. And you come in an environment where the situation is such that CTs don't work for weeks, MRIs don't work for weeks. You do not have new drugs to give to patients. You resort to old therapies that are obsolete in the majority of the world. Um, at times, I felt more like a therapist with my patients than
Mm.
a physician who was there to treat them, understand what's wrong with them, and then hoping to cure them. And it was, on one side, it was really taking a toll of, am I really making that impact? Am I really giving the support that I thought I would? And while I was contemplating the value I add, there was an opportunity to step in into one pharmaceutical company, the first pharmaceutical company that I stepped in. It was a substitute role, and that was with Roche Genentech. And I went into it setting up at the moment Herceptin came to market for the first time.
Hmm.
And my role was to support pathologies to set up HER2 testing. And these pathologies, they did not really understand, nor did they have finances to go and buy kits, already produced kits. So what they could do is make a lab brewed tests. And I, through the work I did, I supported them in doing ring quality assurance testing with some of the labs in Germany. And just the fact that through the work I did, I could support thousands of patients being diagnosed and then hopefully treated and then hopefully living and curing. Oh, it was, some people have eureka moments in different times of their lives. That was my eureka moment. It was a moment of, look at this. Look at what I can do from a role that supports a physician and the healthcare system doing the best for the patient. And I fell in love. What I fell in love there doing the work in Roche was really the impact we can make for patients. And through that impact, I'm really still in love with what pharma industry can do for good of the healthcare. And I think we are change agents, and I think we're change agents for the good. And certainly within Johnson and Johnson, that is something that we put the highest emphasis on. Dave, you've been working with us for a lot of years. I think we pride ourselves in being go-givers. That's what we pride ourselves in being, and bringing transformation and the new hope of life to the patients and their families, and really the people we serve in the communities that we operate in. So that's how I moved. That's why I moved. It was a search for meaning, and I found meaning in the work I do in pharma industry.
That is, it's a great story, and I agree with you. And I do think I've worked with several members of your team who are just really good people and passionate and caring and always thinking of the patients and being empathetic and so yeah, I think when you go from being a therapist in post-war Serbia to like the eureka moment of being able to like think you can impact thousands of patients, that is a true eureka moment. And I can see how you fell in love with it.
So it's the goodness we can bring, the greater the goodness, the greater the joy. And there's nothing more rewarding than seeing the light in the eyes of a patient who receives something that they should get, and makes them feel better. They step out of the when you help a human being go from desperate to hopeful, that is the best feeling one can have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pulling the thread now from from your childhood to like working in the hospital treating patients and then transitioning to to industry and falling in love, as you said. And so now I'd love to have it tell us about what motivates you or gives you purpose, or as you mentioned earlier, why. So I'm really curious to hear your why.
Oh, my why is I crave to give that eureka moment to the people who surround me. So my why is I work to ignite the fire in others to change the world we live in. And since we are in healthcare, Dave, we're going to start changing the world through healthcare. Doesn't mean we're going to stop there. We do a lot on supporting D&I. We do a lot on supporting the equity. We do a lot on supporting the education. There are very many things that we do in Johnson and Johnson that go just beyond the impact in healthcare. But that's my why. It's igniting the fire in others to change the world for the better.
Oh, I love that. I really do. And as a physician at heart, I keep thinking as I go back to thinking about that as you see new medicines being developed, it must be so rewarding for you to
Oh,
continue your eureka moments.
oh, look, thrilling. Dave, look, the 20 odd years ago, I am dating myself. That's okay. I am aging very proudly. Um, 20 or more years ago, when we talk about, we talk about lung cancer 20 odd years ago, we had just chemotherapy. There was no targeted therapy. There was no IO. When we look at bladder cancer, for past 50 years in bladder cancer, we are stuck with giving BCG every time, giving painful installation of something that works very shortly and puts a strain not only on patients but on total healthcare system across the globe. So when you look at all these things that we come from and how much we have evolved and where we are right now, where for some malignancies, and I'll talk about something that is really close to my heart as well, which is multiple myeloma. In multiple myeloma, we are at the verge of finding cure and calling cure to a good group of patients within this decade. We have cell therapies that work tremendously. We have bispecifics that are combined. We have amazing regimens that can be sequenced. And you know something? We sent chemotherapy to a museum where it rightfully belongs. And said, thank you for the history, and we're going to build something new. that's this is in our lifetime, and I see even more progress in the decade in front of us.
Oh, I do. I totally do too. And I believe in the the research that was done 20 years ago is benefiting patients today. The research being done today is going to benefit patients 10 years from now.
Yes.
And one of the things that you mentioned, Biljana, was that 20 years ago, when I was diagnosed with lung cancer, I'm the reason people know this about me. The reason I live a life of gratitude is because, but for the grace of God, here I am. And I had an early stage, I got pneumonia and I had a lobectomy and it was terrible. And week in the hospital and all that stuff, but at long recovery, but there were no other options. And so people around me at Mass General, where I was treated, didn't have any hope.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the research evangelist is kind of the perfect. When my friend of mine named me that, he said, "Dave, you should start sharing your story because you're like the research evangelist." And I was like, he said when I looked up the meaning of evangelist, I was like, well, yeah, there is a lot of good news. So a lot of good things have happened. In fact, I'm going to ask you about some things that are happening at J&J, but um, let me ask you, like, what research are you most excited about, or what are some of the most interesting or exciting projects that you're working on right now at J&J?
Oh, there's so much that look, I'll start with that higher vision that everything we bring has to be transformative. And we have two when we think about where do we want to put most of our efforts, one goes into finding regimens of therapies. And I'm intentionally not saying a drug because attacking cancer, we have to be smart because cancer is smart. So we need to bring combinable regimens and then find sequences of therapies that will allow patient to live the longest, most fulfilled, best quality of life. So that's one part of it. And the second part is going earlier up the stream and trying to diagnose cancer, catch and treat cancer at its early stages, so that we can control the resistance mechanisms better. And these are the two things that we're strongly working on that I am very excited about. So when I look at the within our own pipeline, the things that excite me, with solid tumors in prostate cancer, we have a proprietary target with the KLK2. I'm going to geek out on science now. Proprietary target on KLK2. We have bispecifics on that target coming soon to phase 3 research. We have actinium-based radioligand therapies on KLK2 that we just presented with remarkable results of only one or two injections of the drug. We're moving very early on with hormonal therapy, and we will be the only company that brings a registered hormonal therapy to a localized prostate cancer setting after radiation or surgery. In lung cancer, we're bringing remarkable combination of multi-targeted EGFR pronged approach that is also harnessing the immune system as the support of the mechanism against cancer. And then we're just starting with that. We're going to be exploring earlier in lines. We're going to be exploring different combinations with the drugs we have for EGFR targeted tumors. And we are going to be focusing on finding ways to replace chemotherapy as the need for the combination. In bladder cancer, we are bringing an amazing device that will be floating in the bladder for weeks, eluting a drug, and supporting patients keep their bladders. And we're going immediately, very early on in that setting, in non-muscle invasive bladder cancer, where we know we can save lives and save bladders of patients, where the majority of these patients today have them surgically removed. So these are the things that truly excite me about solid tumor and the work that we're doing in Johnson and Johnson. And then on hematological malignancy side, we're moving early on with our cell therapy. We're the only company that is bringing very boldly the combination or the comparison of cell therapy versus bone marrow transplantation in the frontline setting. So with that, again, you're replacing something that has given marvelous results in the past, but it's really cumbersome, very problematic, and very outdated. And we could have something that is way better and way more patient friendly. So these are the things that excite me about our research. And additionally, you said it, we're all one ecosystem. One thing that we are very proud of, we are truly a convening company. We love science wherever it comes from. Our labs, somebody else's labs. We partner, and we love to partner with all equally curious, equally passionate change agents, and we love to bring that collaboration to the world, as we did with a lot of our medicines previously. So that's a little bit of Johnson and Johnson and what we're going to be bringing in the future. So a lot of exciting things.
Oh, I love that, and I do agree in this philosophy of being a convener. I do believe that you are. I feel like I am as well,
Hmm.
and I'm honored that I'm serving on the steering committee for one of the J&J trials. I'm also proud that I gave testimony to ODAC, for a different program, and just lending my voice and the way that your team approaches patient centricity is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not just a buzzword. I take it really seriously. And I do feel that when I work with your team, I do feel like they listen to me. They listen to, and not just me, but they listen to people. And I consult with metadata, and it's the same thing. They listen to us. And I think it's so important to get the patient perspective, because sometimes I hear things like, well, a patient will endure anything to save their life. And I'm like, well, that's not true. So
Yeah.
there are just certain things that I like to just make sure that I'm bringing an empathetic um, perspective to it, and your team has really been great to work with. So I'm grateful for that. So,
Thank you.
what are your goals as president of Solid Tumor, particularly in the lung cancer space?
Wow. Well, my goal is to do exactly that. I need to build of what you have just said, Dave. We're not passive observers of life that happens around us. We're active participants. Every voice matters. And patients are at the very heart of everything that we do. And when I look at the lung cancer, and I look at the lung cancer space, Dave, in EGFR mutated lung cancer space, what's our typical patient profile? It's woman in her 40s, 50s, never smoked. Most of them with mostly young families, because nowadays we start having families later. Most of them are just picking their head up and breathing the air and saying, "Oh, my life is in front of me." And then you get a diagnosis. And the diagnosis you get gives you an average today 3 years of life with the current standard of care. And what I want to say, and I want the world to say, is this is not enough. This is not enough. There is much more that we need to do to bring things and extend life for patients who are young and who have their whole life ahead of them. And we need to do it in a way that we're collaborating together, Dave, as you have seen us doing, in shaping the studies and research that is going to incorporate having the best and most efficacious therapy and the best and most optimal patient care. while that therapy is given, so that we can hold hands and get the maximum for every single person. That's what I'm excited about. It's the, and I see it, it's really around the corner. We will be bringing a lot more data out that will be done in collaboration with patient organizations, with physicians, on the optimizations of the management of the EGFR mutated lung cancer patients, and bringing them, hopefully for the first time in a decade, an opportunity to meaningfully extend life beyond what they had the opportunity to have before. So this keeps me, I wake up with a smile every single day because of that. And I know at which speed we're going we're going at this task together, and you're part of it, in giving such marvelous feedback. And we were together on the steering committee for the project we're working on, and your input was priceless. It is, these are the things that mean the most. I think Steve Jobs said, "Why do we don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. We hire
Right.
to let them do things." And we tend to invite very intelligent, great, passionate people, and everybody has a seat at the table, and then we make great progress together.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny. Speaking of Apple, my friend who named me the research evangelist, he did because there was a guy at Apple years ago, and I'll age myself, but his name is Guy Kawasaki, and he was the technology evangelist or the Macintosh
Yeah.
evangelist. I forget his exact title, but that was actually his real title, which I thought was pretty cool. So it helped me think away from religious connotation of evangelist to more of the messenger of like bringing the good news, right?
There
So
you go. There
yeah,
you
for
go.
sure. So wow, I've just really enjoyed this conversation. We could just keep going, but the last thing I'd like to ask you, Biljana, is outside of work, tell us something that you're passionate about or that people may not know about you.
Ah. Oh, I have so many passions. They let me contain them. But what people don't know about me, they're private things. Um, I'm an extremely active person. I adore every single sport that I can engage in, whether it's skiing, swimming, basketball. I run every single day, and I do believe that our health starts with a healthy body and a healthy mind, and I try to cultivate both. Um, I'm a crazy reader. I read books all the time. If you ask me about movies, I don't watch movies. I'm not big on Netflix or TV series, but I'm really big on books. And I think I'm an awesome cook. That's probably something. If I can brag and say that I'm an awesome cook, I don't know, but people could try and say that I'm an awesome cook, so I can.
Are you a baker too, or just or a cook?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm a savory cook,
Oh, I
not a
love that.
yes.
Well, I can tell you, my wife is the opposite because she's okay with me saying this. She's not the best cook, but she's an awesome baker, and that's her passion. So
There you go, Pat. We need to cultivate our passions, so I try to cultivate.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, Billion, it's been such an honor to have you on my show. I really
Such
appreciate
an
it, and
honor to
thank
be with you,
you
Dave.
so much for everything that you do for the cancer community, particularly in my case for the lung cancer community. And keep up the good work. And I'm just really honored. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Right back at you. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for being such an amazing partner, for being such an amazing evangelist, and a go-giver. It's been a pleasure. Not just this, but the entire work that we do with you is an absolute pleasure.
Well, we're going to keep changing the world.
Oh
So
yeah, we keep
you're,
changing the
you're
world.
you're not done with me yet. So
Oh no, 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 never, never. The world needs us.
absolutely. Well, thanks again. And look forward to seeing you again soon.